Hello? Give me one moment. And back to this page. Summer solstice. So, first off, let me greet everyone and apologize for being 6 minutes and punctual. I apologize for my punctuality, but that doesn't stop the magnitude of what we're about to go over. Uh, the other day, I was saying that if let me get to the chapter. One moment, let's read it real quick. So, the very first month of the sun, let me just go ahead and read how many months there is until we get to the day is double the night. And the sun starts in the fourth portal. Give me one moment. Alarm. Can't help yourself. Anyway. So the sun, we're going to pick up in verse 6. In this way, he rises in the first month in the great portal, which is the fourth portal. And in that fourth portal, from which the sun rises, in the first month are 12 window openings, from which proceed a flame when they are open in their season. When the sun rises in heaven, he comes forth through the fourth portal, 30 mornings. So this is the first month, and sets accurately in the fourth portal in the west of heaven. And during this period, the day becomes longer, and the night nightly shorter. On that day, the day is longer by a ninth part. One moment. And the day amounts to exactly 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. Okay. Now the sun's going to go to the fifth portal. Now, when this happens, listen. It says, and the sun returns to the fifth portal of the east 30 mornings, and rises from it and sets in the fifth portal. And the day becomes longer by 2 parts, and amounts to 11 parts. And the night becomes shorter, and amounts to 7 parts. And it returns to the east and enters in the sixth portal, and rises and sets in the sixth portal 30 and 1 and 30 mornings, on account of its sign. On that day, the day becomes longer than the night, and the day becomes double the night, and the day becomes 12 parts. Stop right there. So in the third month of the year, you have what they know now as the summer solstice, which is the longest days of not just the year, but the longest days a period in the year by double. So June-ish, let's say June 15th through June 20th or June 22nd or something like that, we have to be open with the 7-day period that it could actually begin. June anything. But do you follow what I'm getting at right now? June is the third month. The sixth month of the year is actually the third month of the year. And the reason why I say that is because exactly 6 months later, we go to the winter solstice. Now, I'm going to read to you not the exact verses, but how the day starts to decrease and how many months there are. So on the next part, the day is now 11 parts and the night is 7. That's 1 month. The next part, the day is 10 parts and then the night is 8 parts. That's 2 months. Okay. Now when it leaves again, it equalizes 9 parts a day, 9 parts a night. Okay. And then now what happens is that the night is about to become longer. All right. And the nights are 10 days. I mean, 10 parts, and the days are 8 parts. Okay. Now on this 5th month, okay, the days are now 7 parts and the nights are 11 parts. Getting to the 6th month, listen to this right here. And on that day, this is verse 26, the night becomes longer and amounts to the double of the day. And the night amounts exactly to 12 parts and the day to 6. Now, the reason why this is so important is, let's go over to this next page I have. The winter solstice, which usually occurs during the hemisphere's winter in the northern hemisphere. Now, I'm going to tell you why all this stuff is also really important. These things were established on Pangaea, or the supercontinent. So the fact that all the earth is dispersed and divided, there's not a changing of seasons, so to speak, but there's a changing of when these things might take place where you're at. But the same functions will take place. No matter if you live in Australia and they say that right now is winterish or whatever, like for them, it still there's a happening where at a certain part and junction of the year, the days are shorter. In Alaska, they go a whole month without light, pretty much. Winter solstice. Summer solstice, it doesn't get dark, pretty much. The whole point I'm trying to make is this, is that your geographical locale will dictate how these things look, but they don't change. And is dictate that the month of December is not the 12th month, but the 9th month of the year. Okay? And what makes that so important is because January would be the 10th month, the 11th month would be February, the 12th month would be March, and April would be the start of the new year, which is what I've heard other people contest, that April is the official, that's the real new year. But once again, if we look at the scripture and we look at when life was all created, the conditions for life to have been sustained were, or when life was created in its fullness, would have been from spring, and then at the harvest time when everything was ready, which is how it all sets out. So even then, from that standpoint, I totally understand and I totally get what people are getting at. It's because it's not when the world was created, it's when life begins, and life begins in the spring, not in the winter. And I've contended this before when I've contended that evolution, if you wanted to argue that, was in the Bible as well. With that said and put forth, the reason why I'm on this so much is because the other day I knew that the solstice, I just couldn't think of the name of it. You know what I mean? And I wanted to do it yesterday, but I went to go see my dad and hung out with my dad for some hours. So I just had to plan it for today. But this is going to be very interesting going forward, because whenever we think about any of these things, we have to remember the earth is still one piece. Up until the days of Noah after the flood, the earth is one piece. So the teachings and the understanding that the forefathers have of planet Earth is different from the understanding that we have of present day Earth. And that is just me speaking to the matter of factness of it all. Where are we at? I'm going to jump on this part right here again, the 21,832 days. Just to go to it real fast, just to put it into context, because I read it and I read it and I read it when I got offline. And I remembered exactly what had happened. I was at work and I was reading it and I was totally blown away that I pulled in people who were around and showed them exactly what it said. And it was reckoned. I don't know why I added the years together and did this funny math to divide the days. But how I reckoned it was totally improper. Because I at the time I was trying to figure out, how did you get 1,700 days and then all of a sudden jump to 21,000, which is a substantial increase. But the reason why this is important is because even when we go back to things like the winter and the summer solstice, when the days are longer or the nights are longer, whichever one you want to lean on, let's talk about the moon again. Let's talk about if the days are twice as long and the nights are only half the length of the day. If the moon falls behind in 8 years, she falls behind the amount of 80 days. All the 17 days behind in 8 years are 80, and the year is accurately completed in the conformity with their world stations and in the stations of the sun, which rises from the portals through which it rises and sets 30 days. Now, what I'm saying is this right here is that the moon in a 30-day period, right, doesn't fall behind the sun exactly one whole day. You follow what I'm saying? But it falls behind almost a day for every month that there is, because every year is 6 days. So uh, and I know that doesn't seem like it's a lot. I mean, but it is a whole bunch, and it throws off the time, and it throws off how we perceive time. If you have one person, let me just put it like this: if you have a person who has only used the moon ever because it changes its appearance, so they can measure time easier like that. But the moon has you not only 6 days behind, right, every year, but you're not accounting for the solstice on either side of it. So you may not account for each. So what I'm saying is that a person may not account for the sun and the moon completing a day cycle to them. And I know that seems like awkward or weird, but the only way I can make it make sense is when Joshua, I'm not going to look for it right now, but there's a happening in the book of Joshua where they're chasing down these giants. And Joshua says to the Most High that he wants the Most High to put the sun in one spot and then put the moon in another. And why this is so important is because we have to realize that in a moment like that changes the count of the days. You know, now does that change the count of the days so drastically? Like that one moment is why we're all off? No, but what it does is that it even that changes how a person would count the days. So if you were counting the moon or accounting for the moon, but the moon was in the sky with the sun for 2 days because the sun didn't set in a portal for 2 whole days, then that changes the count that you're on. People are like, what does this have to do with the solstice? It has everything to do with the intercalary days that we're going to be reading about going forward. The intercalary days, let's just read them again just in case anybody forgot. And I'm going to type in right here, enter, 1 second. Calorie. Damn. A day or a month inserted into the calendar year to harmonize it with the solar year and lead. Now, understand that that's what I'm looking for. You can't they changed what the intercalary means because I'm going to read it to you, and then we're going to really see if they know what they're talking about, because this book says that people go wrong for trying to account for these things. Let's read it. Chapter 75. And the leaders of the heads of the thousands who were placed over the whole creation and over all the stars have also to do with the 4 intercalary days, being inseparable from their office, according to the reckoning of the year. And those render service on the 4 days which are not reckoned in the reckoning of the year. and owing to them, men go wrong therein. For those luminaries truly render service on the world stations. In the first portal, one in the third portal of the heaven, one in the fourth portal of the heaven, and one in the sixth portal. So these four intercalary days, these angels who control these days, or if you will, represent these days, they are at stations. One, like I just told you, is in the first portal, one is in the third portal, one is in the fourth portal, one is in the sixth portal. Understand, this intercalary definition right here says to insert to the calendar to harmonize the solar year, e.g., February 29th in leap years. That's bullshit. Okay? It's bullshit. They've added a day to the year because they've gone wrong therein. Do y'all understand me? There's only 364 days in the year. There is no extra quarter day. The fact that they add a day to the year and the fact that the moon gets behind by a whole 6 days for every 364 days, for every 4 years, you add a quarter day or however many hours that is per one day, right? Not a quarter day, but like a 0.0025%. Like you add a small percentage, a small increment of another day to that. So if you've been doing leap year for 60 years, 70 years, you've added almost enough time. You see what I'm saying? For a part of a day to be added. You further messed up the count. You can't get the count right. You understand? None of us will know the exact day that we're at. We're not meant to, I don't think, at this point. But I'm trying to bring to everyone's realization and to everyone's eyes that hopefully that they should see. If you don't know what day of the week it is positively, if they can't tell you what day of the week it is positively, I just showed y'all that in the book of Enoch, the third month is the month of June. So the month of June has had its whole monthly station changed, okay, to harmonize the white man's understanding. Okay? All right? And they've changed what would be the latter part of the year into the first part of the year, i.e., December, January, February. And they've turned what is what's the word I'm looking for? The month of new corn, or the brand new year, which is it verifies that the Most High, it verifies that the Most High may have done what he did during the Passover for the fact that it was the actual new year. And the Passover took place during the beginning of the new year. Come on. Say that with me, y'all. The beginning of the new year, the Most High got his people up out of Egypt. There's a whole lot of stuff going on that I can't go into and delve off into because we're reading the book of Enoch. But there's a lot of things that I have to stop, talk about, and elaborate, because if I don't, and I want to bring it up later, and I haven't touched on it at all, there may be some confusion. So if the solstice comes up later on, and it will, because we've got, one moment. I've got 7 pages I got to read to you just about. A lot of it is just going to be me reading, not a whole lot of stopping and elaborating till I get ready to go back. So get ready. It's going to be really boring. But had to start with just doing that. Summer, winter solstice, blah, 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 blah. What up, y'all? Brother Wickham, Sister Bowser. So we're going to pick up we're going to skip past chapter 76 and skip past all the winds. And we're going to go right back to chapter 77 where I left off. And the first quarter is called the East. because it is the first, and the second, the south, because the Most High will descend there. Yea, there in a quite special sense will he who is blessed forever descend. And the west quarter is named the diminished, because there all the luminaries of the heaven wane and go down. And the fourth quarter, named the north, is divided into three parts. The first of them is for the dwelling of men, and the second contains seas of water, and abysses, and forests, and rivers, and darkness, and clouds. And the third part contains the garden of righteousness. I saw seven high mountains, higher than all the mountains which are on the earth. Thence comes forth hoarfrost, and days, and seasons, and years pass away. I saw seven rivers on the earth, larger than all the rivers. One of them coming from the west pours into the waters, pours, one of them coming from the west pours its waters into the great sea. And these two come from the North Sea and pour their waters into the Erythraean Sea in the east. And the remaining four come forth on the side of the north to their own sea, two of them to the Erythraean Sea, and two into the Great Sea, and discharges themselves and discharges themselves there. And some say into the desert. Seven great islands I saw in the sea, and in the mainland, two in the mainland, and five in the Great Sea. Chapter 78. And the names of the sun are the following. The first, Ojaris. The second, Tomas. And the moon has four names. The first is Osanja. The second is Ebla. The third is Banas or Banasi. The fourth is Irae or Irai, Erae. These are the two great luminaries. Once again, this is another piece of confirmation that the sun and the moon are the same size. Their circumference is like the circumference of the heaven, and the size of the circumference of both is alike. In the circumference of the sun, there are seven portions of light, which are added to it more than to the moon. And in definite measures, it is transferred till the seventh portion of the sun is exhausted. And they set and enter the portals of the west, and make their revolution by the north, and come forth through the eastern portals on the face of the heaven. And when the moon rises, 1/14th part appears in the heaven. The light becomes full in her. On the 14th day, she accomplishes her light. And on the 15th day, parts of her light are transferred to her, and parts of her light are transferred to her till the 15th day. Her light is accomplished according to the sign of the year, and she becomes 15 parts. And the moon grows by 14th parts. And in her waning, decreases on the first day to 14 parts of her light, and on the second to 13 parts of light, and on the third to 12, and on the fourth to 11, and on the fifth to 10, and on the sixth to 9, and on the seventh to 8, and on the eighth to 7. Now let me stop right here real quick. What it's talking about right now with the moon is that if you pay attention to the actual days that the moon comes up, and you count to when she gets full, or to when she's empty till she gets full, there's a 15-day period. Okay, from when she has 13/14ths of her. Okay, then on the middle of the month, it seems as if her fullness comes in. Bam. Then every day after that, she loses a part of her light. So this is why it says, and her waning decreases on the first day, which would be the 16th. So the second would be the 17th. The third is the 18th. The fourth is the 19th. The fifth is the 20th. The sixth is the 21st. The seventh is the 22nd. The 8th is the 23rd. The 9th is the 24th. The 10th is the 25th. The 11th is the 26th. The 12th is the 27th. The 13th is the 28th. The 14th is the 29th. And the 15th is the 30th. So even when you look at it from that point of view, it's just trying to tell us, and that's not how it's written, but I'm gonna go back and read how it's actually written. But I need you guys to understand that the middle of the month is normally when the moon will perfect or have a full moon. So once again, if the days of the calendar month don't align with being from the 1st to the 15th, and then she achieves perfection, then that means that those days are also wrong. You know, why this is important is because we're talking about winter, summer solstice. We're talking about the 3rd month being confused for the 6th month, and the 12th month or the 9th month being confused for the 9th month. And these things have people's lives really messed up. Where am I at? So we'll pick up again. And in her waning, meaning the falling off of her light or the decreasing of her light, decreases on the 1st day to 14 parts, on the 2nd, 13 parts, on the 3rd to 12, on the 4th to 11, on the 5th to 10, on the 6th to 9, on the 7th to 8, on the 8th to 7, on the 9th to 6, on the 10th to 5, on the 11th to 4, on the 12th to 3, on the 13th to 2, on the 14th to half of a 7th. And all her remaining light disappears wholly on the 15th. And in certain months, here we go right here. And in certain months, the month is what? 29 days. And once 28. So even when you talk about leap year, it's bullshit, because there's months in the old calendar years of the old world that are only 29 days. So the intercalary days, those 4 extra days, not only just because you read that the sun goes through a station 30 days doesn't mean that that month has 30 days. It just means that that's what the sun does for those 30. I can't stress it enough. The days that are all accounted for in the year doesn't mean that they're all involved in months. You only count the months based on the fact that the sun, in perfection, always goes from one portal to the next. The moon does not do this. The moon changes her course, deviates from for whatever reasons, because she can choose to do that, and that's part of her programming. The sun, however, is not like that. So even when you account for all the days, because once again we're talking about people going from month to month. The moon is how people counted the months, and this is what I'm trying to stress right now. The moon is how people counted the months. The sun is how you count the days. But if the moon is behind 6 days every year, you're not in perfect conjunction with the sun. You can't be. So the only way to actually count the days and to know where you're at is to count the sun. And the only way to understand the phases of the moon is to know that the moon only meets and makes its perfection in the middle of the month. You follow what I'm saying right now? Okay. So we would only actually know how long the night is if we time the day and say, okay, today there was actually 17 hours of daylight and there was only 7 hours of nighttime. You follow what I'm getting at right now? That's the only real way we could denote what part of the year that we're about to be in. Now, supposedly, summer solstice isn't for another almost 20 days. So we're going to get to see, we all live on the Western Hemisphere. You know, I don't think any of us live on the East Coast who come in here regularly. Sister Smith and Brother Smith both live on the East Coast. But that's the only, that's it. That's it. And maybe Mike Woodard. I think Mike Woodard might live on the East Coast too. Let me not tell a lie. Can't say where JP Hope is at. But anyway, the point is this, is that here in about a month, you're going to be able to put everything that I'm saying to the ultimate test. Okay. And you're going to be able to say, okay, Demetrius, you said that June is the solstice, and you said that June is supposed to have the longest days in the year. We're going to see. But let's say July has the longest days in the year and not June. Then we're going to have to, well, I'm going to have to not backpedal, but turn my attention to say that the month that they have told us is the solstice is not the solstice. Okay? Because it's nothing to time and to say, okay, I went to sleep at this time of the day, and to watch how many actual hours of nighttime it is. It'll be easier to count the hours in the night than it will be to count the hours in the day of actual light. So if I have to sleep all day and then stay up all night to count the hours, I'll do that. But I'm going to do this stuff here pretty soon because it's important, because I want to know what month I'm actually in. I want to know what time of the year I'm actually in. If that's not important to you, it's important to me. Why this is important is because there's certain signs that we're looking for. You understand? There's things that we're looking for to take place, to manifest in the heavens. I can't stress this enough. But we're going to keep it pushing. Verse 10. And in certain months, the month has 29 days, and once 28. And Uriel showed me another law. When light is transferred to the moon, on which side it is transferred to her by the sun. Stop right there. This is the other piece where I could also say where they try to say that the sun powers the moon, but it doesn't. That's right, sister. Thank you. You're exactly what I'm trying to say. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. That you couldn't have said it. It couldn't have been worded better. You couldn't have worded it any better. That is exactly what I'm trying to do right now. For us, for all of us. You couldn't have worded it any better. Straight up. Verse 10 again. And in certain months, the month has 29 days, and once 28. And Uriel showed me another law. When light is transferred to the moon, on which side it is transferred to her by the sun. During all the periods which the moon is growing in her light, she is transferring it to herself when opposite to the sun. During 14 days, her light is accomplished in the heaven. Stop right there. It's telling us that the moon goes and pretty much takes the light from the sun. Like, thank you. Give me that, pimp. I'll return it in a few days. You get what I'm saying? I'll return it in a couple of days, but this is another reason why she follows the sun. And it says that she's opposite of the sun. So these are probably days that we can't see the moon in the sky with the sun being powered by the sun. Now, once again, the sun is still not the reason for the moon's light. The moon has its own light. But the moon takes from the sun to accomplish its period of lightning throughout this, or lighting throughout the sky. You understand what I'm saying? So even when the sun gives up the portion of light that it gives to the moon, the sun is not decreased in its brightness, if that makes sense. So even when the moon is full in, she's still only 1/7 the brightness of the sun, even after so-called having the sun power her. So we still have to respect that whole concept that the moon has her own light source, so to speak. Going forth, verse 13, and on the first day, she is called the new moon. For on that day, the light rises upon her. She becomes full moon exactly on the day when the sun sets in the west, and from the east she rises at night. And the moon shines the whole night through till the sun rises over against her. And the moon is seen over against the sun, on the side whence the light of the moon comes forth. And there again she wanes till the light vanishes. And all the days of the month are at an end, and her circumference is empty and void of light. 3 months she makes of 30 days. And at her time, she makes 3 months of 29 days each, in which she accomplishes her waning in the first period of time. And in the first, and in the time of her going out, she appears for 3 months, 30 days each. And for 3 months, she appears 29 each. At night, she appears like a man for 20 days each time. And by day, she appears like the heaven, and there is nothing else in her save her light. Stop right there. Did y'all just do the math on that? There are 6 months that the moon actually has that have 29 days. And there's another 6 months that have 30 days. Okay? So if you just did the quick math, there are 6 months where she only has a cycle of 29 days. So this accounts for the 6 days that the moon does not accomplish in a year. It also gives credence to the fact that the moon goes back from one portal to another, right? So as opposed to going forth with the sun from, let's say, the third portal or from the fourth portal to the fifth portal, she might go from the third portal back to the second or to the first portal. She does her own thing. This is why another reason, if you understand certain days, you can see the moon. It just told us we'll see the moon in the sky. Let me put my book down, up against the sun. And the reason why is because she may have came out of the first portal. The sun may be in the fourth or third portal. So therefore, the trajectory of the angles, not only of the portals are different, but how we see it being from the bottom up is going to look different. So when it's explaining to us these things, it makes total sense. It makes perfect sense. We have to get outside and see more. We have to look more. And I know that's hard to do because you got rent to pay. You got mortgages to pay. You got property taxes to pay. Okay. You have taxes in general to pay. You have a life to live. So I understand that going outside and looking at the sky and not trying to be a stargazer of any sort, but just trying to understand where we're at in our year and understanding. If we understand the years better, the months better, we're going to understand the scripture better when we do read it was the second month or the third month. And maybe there's a certain setting that sounds like there's a certain weather pattern or conditions where in which people don't move about so freely because the heat may be too extreme or maybe too cold out. These are all things that we have to keep in mind because it's going to help us understand the scripture. If we go forth thinking that the first month is our first month of January, but the first month is more than likely April or May, we're wrong. And so therefore our understanding is wrong. And it gives us more error to live in. I'm not trying to be more wrong than I already am. You see what I'm saying? I'm trying to be more right, more correct. And the only way to do that is to take all the information that's present and available and to read it and to hope to discern it so that way there's no confusion, number one, or as little confusion as possible. So now I'm going to read this next part. And did you guys catch it? I'm going to read this in the very tail end of verse 16. At night, she appears like a man for 20 days each time. And by day, she appears like the heaven, and there is nothing else in her save her light. Now, I can't dictate to you what it means. At night, she appears like a man. Really couldn't. I don't know how to say that. How to put that in context. I just assume that she's visible. You know, because I don't know what a man's appearance is. You know, or you get what I mean? Like I'm not sure. I don't get the principle of saying she appears as a man when the moon is given a feminine aspect. I don't understand. But if anybody else gets that, feel free to lay it on me. Chapter 79. And this is Enoch talking to Methuselah. And now, my son, I have shown thee everything, and the law of all the stars in heaven is completed. And he showed me all the laws of these for every day, and for every season of bearing rule, and for every year, and for its going forth, and for the order prescribed to it every month and every week, and the waning of the moon which takes place in the sixth portal. For in the sixth portal her light is accomplished, and after that the beginning of the waning, which takes place in the first portal, in its season, till 177 days are accomplished, according to weeks 25 and 2 days. She falls behind the sun and the order of the stars exactly 5 days in the course of one period. And when this place which thou seest has been traversed, such is the picture and the sketch of every luminary which Uriel the archangel, who was the leader, showed unto me. What he was just trying to say just then was, you know how scientists said that they take a picture of the stars? Like if you take a picture of the star, that's actually like an old picture of it, however many thousands years ago. That's the same thing he's saying right now, is that because the moon falls behind, that even when you sketch it all the way that it's supposed to be, the moon is always behind. So where the stars are at in the placement of the moon may be different. And where the moon is at and the placement of the stars may be different. But that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to throw that out there. Here we go. Chapter 80. And in those days, the angel Uriel answered and said to me, behold, I have shown thee everything, Enoch, and I have revealed everything to thee that thou shouldest see, this sun and this moon, and the leaders of the stars of the heaven, and all those who turn them, their task and times and departures. And in the days of the sinners, the years shall be shortened. What? And in the days of the sinners, years shall be shortened, and their seed shall be tardy on their lands and fields, meaning that it's going to be late. Your harvest won't come. And all things on the earth shall alter. Come on. And shall not appear in their time. And rain shall be kept back. So when it says they shall not appear in their time, this is why the seasons are off now. And the heavens shall withhold. And in those times the fruits of the earth shall be backward, and shall not grow in their time. And the fruits of the trees shall be withheld in their time. And the moon shall alter her order, and shall not appear at her time. Stop right there. Once again, it's being explained to us that in the latter days, in the days of the sinners, everything is going to change. Did it say that the sinners changed it? No, it just says that it's going to change. Now, my understanding why everything has changed is because an evil genius who was dedicated to knowing exactly what the first day was and when it and all that would go back with all the information at their fingertips and isolate that and figure out exactly which day that we're at now from the beginning till now. So the only way to keep that from happening, and the reason why that's important, is because they wouldn't be able. You don't know when the Most High is going to come back, but you can start throwing some serious monkey wrenches into the plans of saving the elect, however you thought you could, if you had an understanding that this general period seems as if now is when the Most High is going to come back, or now he's going to send his Christ and his Messiah. Just in a general time span, if you understand that, you can act against it. Has nothing to do with being right about time. Has everything to do with being able to derail the righteous and the elect from their appointed place. Keeping it pushing. Verse 4, and the moon shall alter her order and not appear at her time. Verse 5, and in those days the sun shall be seen, and he shall journey in the evening on the extremity of the great chariot in the west, and shall shine more brightly than accords with the order of light. And many chiefs of stars shall transgress the order, and these shall alter their orbits and tasks, and not appear at the seasons prescribed to them. And the whole order of the stars shall be concealed from the sinners. And the thoughts of those on earth shall err concerning them, and they shall be altered from all their ways. Yea, they shall err, and take them to be gods, and evil shall be multiplied upon them, and punishment shall come upon them so as to destroy all. Stop right there. Do you know who those luminaries are who change their orbits? Those are the so-called planets. Yes. Yes, sister. But she responds like that. I have to find the scripture in the Apocrypha where it says the warriors of heaven, or like, I'm pretty sure it says the warriors of heaven. It's like the moon is their sign, it's their signal. She's like their bat signal, and she's pretty much how they're going to know to come down here and lay siege to the earth. So yes, the moon is a crucial piece, not just to the wicked, but to the holy and to the righteous. But if the moon has changed her ways, how can they know exactly where they're at? If the moon has already thrown people off for days, being years, being millennia now, they don't actually know what time they're at. How can a person who's wicked actually pinpoint a specific time period? They can't, which I'm sure the Most High has made that like that for a reason. But to go to the part to where it says that, yea, they shall err and take them to be gods, is speaking on many chiefs of stars shall transgress the order, and these shall alter their orbits and tasks, and not appear at the seasons prescribed to them. So what it's saying is that there's going to be stars, planets, whatever, maybe even some of those ministering creatures, right on, and the chariots of heaven, right on. And, right, some of those ministering creatures in the chariots of heaven may show themselves when they're not supposed to, or before when they're supposed to, right, and be worshipped as gods. Can you dig it? Right. So this goes back to the part where that spot in the east that's called the diminishing, where all the waning stars go down. I'm sure that it's talking about those stars. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure when the Lord or the Messiah or the Anointed One, I didn't say the Lord God, but when the Lord sits on the throne of glory and judges all the works of the angels, I'm sure that some of those that I'm talking about right now are those same exact angels. See, I can't stop every little second and try to go back to a part in the book of Enoch that is in conjunction with what we're reading, or go to the scripture that is in conjunction with what we're reading. All I can try to do is just pull it right out my memory banks and pray to God that it makes sense. I am praying to God that this makes sense right now. And I'm going to keep it pushing. And many chiefs of the stars shall transgress the order, and these shall alter their orbits and tasks, and not appear at the seasons prescribed to them. And the whole order of the stars shall be concealed from the sinners, and the thoughts of those on earth shall err concerning them, and they shall be altered from all their ways. Yea, they shall err and take them to be gods, and evil shall be multiplied upon them, and punishment shall come upon them so as to destroy all. Chapter 81. And he said unto me, observe, Enoch, these heavenly tablets, and read what is written thereon, and mark every individual fact. And mark every individual fact. Verse 2. And I observed the heavenly tablet, the heavenly tablets, and read everything which was written, and understood everything, and read the book of all the deeds of mankind, and of all the children of flesh. What? And read the book of all the deeds of mankind, and of all the children of flesh that shall be upon the earth to the remotest generations. That is dictate that there is two different branches of people. It wouldn't have done that. It wouldn't have said that, read the book of all the deeds of mankind, comma, and all the children of flesh that shall be upon the earth to the remotest generation. There's no need to say that. There would have been no need to say that unless, again, Even if Enoch didn't know or understand completely that there was two different genealogies of men on the earth, that is a statement that dictates that. Can't stress it enough. People are like, wow, I'm like, because there's no need to tell me that they're children of flesh. There's no need to tell me that, unless you're telling me that some of the people that were birthed aren't children of flesh and children of what? The spirit. Anyway, and forthwith I bless the Lord, the King of glory, and forthwith I bless the great Lord, the King of glory, forever, in that he has made all the works in the world. And I extolled the Lord because of his patience, and blessed him because of the children of men. And after that I said, blessed is the man who dies in righteousness and goodness, concerning whom there is no book of unrighteousness written, and against whom no day of judgment shall be found. And those seven holy ones brought me and placed me on the earth before the door of my house, and said to me, declare everything to thy son Methuselah, and show to all thy children that no flesh is righteous in the sight of the Lord, for he is their creator. 1 year will we leave thee with thy son, that thou givest thy commands, that thou mayest teach thy children, and record for them, and testify to all thy children. And in the 2nd year they shall take thee from their midst. Let thy heart be strong, for the good shall announce righteousness to the good, and the righteous with the righteous shall rejoice, and shall offer congratulation to one another. But the sinner shall die with the sinners. But the sinner shall die with the sinners, and the apostate go down with the apostate. And those who practice righteousness shall die on the account of the deeds of men, and be taken away on the account of the doings of the godless. And in those days they ceased to speak to me, and I came to my people, blessing the Lord of the world. We got just a little more reading to go. Please bear with me. Please bear with me, and then we can go over all this other stuff. We are about to officially get into the intercalary days. Got about a page to get to that, or at least the leaders of the intercalary days, understanding the 4 different days that actually rend the seasons. Here we go. Chapter 82. And now, my son Methuselah, all these things I am recounting to thee and writing down for thee. And I have revealed to thee everything and given thee books concerning all these. So what? He did what? I have revealed to thee everything and given thee books concerning all these. So before the Dead Sea Scrolls were even established, the reason why I say that is because the Dead Sea Scrolls have on it, which we know as the Pentateuch, and the book of Enoch comes thousands of years before there's a Pentateuch. This information, the same information that we're picking up now, is the oldest information that I know of to man. Did you hear what I just said? The information that I'm going over right now to you, everything I just read to you is pretty much what happened in order for the information to be in my hands. And let me read it to you so that way you understand the fullness of it. And now, my son, Methuselah, all these things I am recounting to thee and writing down for thee. And I have revealed to thee everything and given thee books concerning all these. So preserve, my son Methuselah, the books from thy father's hand, and that thou deliver them to the generations of the world. Stop right there. That is fact, true, undeniable fact, irrefutable, that whatever they want to call the Bible, even before that, there was this. And if a person was just going to live by what's written in this alone, understanding that it doesn't talk about dietary principles, but it does speak on it. It does speak on being righteous and unrighteous, holy and godly. And if that's the case, then one could presume that the first forms of godliness, holiness, righteousness were practiced by those that Enoch gave this information to, i.e., Methuselah going forward. Let's just keep it pushing. Verse 2, I have given wisdom to thee and to thy children, and thy children that shall be to thee, that they may give it to their children for generations, this wisdom that passeth their thought. And those who understand it, shall not sleep, but shall listen with the ear, that they may learn this wisdom, and it shall please those that eat thereof better than good food. Blessed are all the righteous, blessed are all those who walk in the ways of righteousness, and sin not as the sinners, and the reckoning of all their days in which the sun traverses the heaven, entering into and departing from the portals for 30 days with the heads of thousands of the orders of the stars, together with the four which are intercalated, which divide the four portions of the year, which lead them and enter with them 4 days. Owing to them, men shall be at fault, and not reckon them in the whole reckoning of the year. Yea, men shall be at fault, and not recognize them accurately. For they belong to the reckoning of the year, and are truly recorded forever. One in the first portal, one in the third, one in the fourth, and one in the sixth. And the year is accomplished in 364 days. And the account thereof is accurate, and the recorded reckoning thereof exact. For the luminaries and months and festivals and years and days has Uriel shown and revealed to me, to whom the Lord of the whole creation of the world hath subjected the host of the heaven. And he has power over day and night in the heaven to cause the light to give light to men, sun, moon, and stars, and all the powers of the heaven which revolve in their circular chariots. And these are the orders of the stars, which are set in their places, and in their seasons, and festivals, and months. And these are the names of those who lead them, who watch that they enter at their times, in their orders, in their seasons, in their months, in their periods of dominion, and in their positions. Their 4 leaders who divide the 4 parts of the year enter first, and after them the 12 leaders of the order who divide the months, and the 360 there are heads over thousands who divide the days, and the 4 intercalary days there are leaders which sunder the 4 parts of the year. And these heads over thousands are intercalated between leader and leader, each behind a station, but their leaders make the division. And these are the names of the leaders who divide the 4 parts of the year which are ordained: Milkiel, Helimelech, Melejal, and Narel. And the names of those who lead them: Adnarel, and Ejisuel, and Elomil, and Elomil. These 3 follow the leaders of the orders. And there is one that follows the 3 leaders of the orders, which follows those leaders of the stations that divide the 4 parts of the year. In the beginning of the year, Melchijal rises the first and rules, who is named Taimini and son. And all the days of his dominion which he bears rule are 91 days. And these are the signs of the day which are to be seen on the earth in his dominion: sweat, and heat, and calms, and all the trees bear fruit, and leaves are produced on the trees, and the harvest of wheat, and the rose flowers, and all the flowers which come forth in the field. But the trees of the winter season become withered, And these are the names of the leaders which are under them: Berkiel, Zelepsel, and another is added ahead of a thousand, called Hilu Joseph. And the days of the dominion of this are at an end. The next leader after him is Elimelech, who one names the shining sun, and all the days of his life are 90 days. Now I'm gonna stop right there. If this one son is named Tamini and son, or that's the remember when I told y'all that the son had two names? It was one was Tomas and the other one was Ojaris. Now I'm not saying that Taimini is Tomas, but it could be, very well be, because this next one that we're reading about, the next leader is Elimelech, who one names the shining sun, and all the days of his life are 91 days. And the reason why I say that is that because these two are brought up in conjunction with the sun. We know that the sun has two names, and the two names might be in reference to those two different leaders. And these are the signs of days on the earth: glowing heat and dryness, and the trees ripen their fruits and produce all their fruits ripe and ready, and the sheep pair and become pregnant, and all the fruits of the earth are gathered in, and everything that is in the fields and the winepress. These things take place in the days of his dominion. These are the names of the orders. These are the names and the orders and the leaders of those heads of thousands: Gildajal, Keel, and Heel, that's Heel, and the name of the head of the thousand, which is added to them, Asphael, and the days of his dominion are at an end. So, did y'all notice how each dude it's him, and then there's three other or four other individuals who all are all part of that? So there's the intercalary days, okay, which are the 4 different days. All right. Then you have the months, but the intercalary days, obviously those 4 days take place at a specific time in the month. So there's a specific day in the month, and that month also, along with the intercalary day, that all go together, which is why you're hearing about all of them. And it's the same angel for the same days every year, because it's the same exactness completed every year. So you have excuse me, in the 2 different happenings, and I'll read it again from the first one. Start at verse 15 at the tail end of it. In the beginning of the year, Melchijal rises and rules. And Melchijal is supposed to be Melijal. But it's the same angel spelled differently from one place to the other, but I know. Whose name is Tamani or Tamani, and son. And all the days of his dominion, whilst he bears rule, are 91 days. And these are the signs of the days which are to be seen on the earth in the days of his dominion: sweat and heat and calms, and all the trees bear fruit, and leaves are produced on all the trees, and the harvest of wheat, and the rose flowers, and all the flowers which come forth in the field. But the trees of the winter season become withered. And these are the names of the leaders which are under them. Stop right there. And I'm gonna get to your thing in a second. Steve. There's still only 364 days in a year, big dog. So you're as old as you think you are, or as old as you've been told you are. That's probably the closest thing, because they've still only counted 364 and a quarter days, 365 for certain years. So your age at best, at at best, is a few days off, considering the leap year. At worst, a couple weeks off, maybe even a whole month. But that's small peas compared to the days just being wrong in general, you know, because if we're told once again that the fourth month, which is April, which should be the first month, accurately, or April or May, but I'm gonna ride with April. So April's supposed to be the first month, but instead it's the fourth. So we're 3 months at a difference as far as the seasons are concerned. So we have a 3 month difference with the seasons. You follow what I'm saying? So unless a person were to pay attention to summer solstice and winter solstice and notice, like, damn, certain times of the year the day seems longer, and damn, certain times of the year the day seems shorter, or the night seem longer, I should say, it would be really difficult for a person to even know that the timing is off. Um, at our fingertips are grocery stores and convenience stores and things like that of the nature. The ancestors didn't have that. They had to go and scrape for it every doesn't matter. There's only 300, Steve. There's only 364 real days in a year. The leap year is fake. The leap year is fake. Right on? Your birthday's not the leap year. Your birthday's in August. So the only way that once again would affect you is if you were born on February 29th. And I would say effectively, a person born on February 29th, because of the leap year, your real birthday is March 1st. For every year there's not a leap year, your birthday is March 1st. You don't not have a birthday, damn it. You see what I'm saying? It's just that because they add that day, you have to account for that day, which is why Enoch said in the first place, people go wrong reckoning thereof, because they've reckoned, they have the understanding of the information from the book of Enoch, and even with the right information, they still have gone wrong because they've added a whole day to the year. They're not supposed to do that. The moon falls behind 6 days every year. So you add 6 days and some change every 4 years. So every 4 years, the moon gets a 6th day and however much the incremental is. So however long the leap year is, and this is just me stressing it now because we're almost done. It's amazing, bro. That's all I can say, pimp. It's amazing how the moon being off 6 days in the year has literally set the world, has put certain people ahead in time. I can't stress this enough to you guys. The Treaty of Morocco, when the Muslims signed it, the year for them is 1400 something, like 1428, 1412, something like that. For the white Englishman, it was 1700 something. So the fact that there's a difference in the understand. These are people who live on Earth, okay? These are people who live right now on this planet. And you would have a hard time telling me that Muslims don't believe that, as opposed to it being the year 2019, that they don't think it's the year 1780. I would have a hard time. You couldn't convince me that they don't believe that. They believe that. You follow what I'm saying? Now, their years being different could be on account to the fact that they came right out of Middle Earth. And if you look at a whole lot of the Muslim culture, it is predicated from moon worship. With that said, they would off tops fall behind in days. It would happen naturally. It would happen naturally. All moon worshipers are behind in their days. Every single major group there is of moon worshiping people, they're all behind. Not one of them are up to date with the time. It's impossible. With that said and put forward, we're living on an earth where people don't even agree that it's the right time, y'all. They don't even agree that it's the same year. So what makes you think that I think, why would you want to think that this is the right year that we're in? It has this, all this stuff is important. We've got 3 more days for this month, and then roughly 21 days into the next month. So 24 days from now, I might do a stream. I'm gonna really try my best to do one on the so-called summer solstice day. The days of the month might not be right. Damn it! Like, the whole thing is just messed up. The whole thing is messed up because even if you find out that June is the proper third month, right? The problem is that June 21st might be the actual real first day of the month. See, this is the problem. We have days in the wrong months. It's more than just getting the right day. There is so much confusion with this. You know what I mean? There's a level of confusion that it can't be fixed by me. I can't fix it. You know, I don't have a heaven or a hell to put anybody in, so I can't fix it. But I also can't fix it on the level of I can't make somebody understand what I understand. You know what I'm saying? That's impossible. So earlier, when Sister Bowser said, so after we figure out the correct time by the length of days and nights, then we can continue on the correct time by counting the days according to the sun because it does not change. Look, even when we get there, we're still trying to figure out what day of the actual month it is. You see what I'm saying? Just getting to that part of just understanding whether or not June is the real, like the month with the longest days. Understanding that will give us it'll give us a better idea as to how to go forth because we know that if the long days the long days and the short nights travel on into July, then we know that the months and the days in the months are all jumbled up. And so therefore the seasons are wrong. The intercalary days, they're not wrong, but the account, how they've been accounted for or how they've been reckoned is totally improper, totally incorrect. I can't stress to y'all enough this next part, the Book of Dreams, because I might come back. I don't know. I might come back another day and re-go over the astrology part. I might do that. I might do a full-blown review. It all just depends how I feel. And if you guys think that's necessary or not. If you tell me right now that you guys think a review for this section is necessary, I'll do one. And how I'll do it is I'll find like 10 or 15 different little verses that deal with the luminaries or stars in heaven, like peculiar signs or things that happen on a specific circumstance, situation. But if that's not needed, if you think that that you can pick up the Book of Enoch and pretty much go back over what has been spoken on already, then I'll leave that at you, and I'll let you guys do that on your own. But this next part, the Book of Dreams, I'm pretty much finished with it. I want to say I'm not even 10 pages out I'm barely 10 pages out from being finished with the book of Enoch, all the way. So effectively, we haven't caught where I'm at. We're about 22 pages back from where I'm at right now. But that's how much reading of this has stopped me from actually finishing it. You know what I mean? Myself. And I'm not, and I don't mean that in any negative way whatsoever. But I'm just bringing it to you guys' attention. Like, I didn't even finish reading it again a whole time through, and I just decided to read it to you guys. You can really thank Brother Andre, the fact that I even did this in the first. I don't think I was ever going to do the Book of Enoch. I don't think I was. I think I may have maybe entertained it in my mind and maybe brought it up, but I don't think I was going to get around to it this soon. But he made it clear that it's really one of those things that's needed. You know, more so than I want to do it. I kind of feel obligated to do it because if a person can just ignore me for long enough and just listen to what's being read to them, maybe it'll percolate their interest somewhere. Maybe they say, you know what? I can read much better than he can. And my comprehension is 10,000 times the level his comprehension will ever be. So I'm going to read it to myself and I'll gain my own understanding. If that's what it is, that's what it is. I'm not mad at nobody like that. But for a person who's saying, like, you know what? I appreciate the fact that bro takes the time to read. Number one, to read out loud, because people don't do that anymore. You know, not from books at least. And then secondly, I mean, y'all got to realize we've covered a majority of this book. I just don't know another person that would do that. You know what I mean? And not try to throw all the crazy stuff on it that I haven't thrown on it. Because, you know I've tossed some stuff in there, but the things that I'm tossing in there are things that I've seen in the scripture, things that I've noticed in my real life that can't go without mention. It would be poor for me to not go over this and to say, hey, you know what? Check this out. We've been at it for now about an hour and a half. When we read about the part where it says, chapter 80, and it says it's like this, verse 2, and in the days of the sinners, the years shall be shortened, and their seed shall be tardy on their lands and fields, and all things on the earth shall alter, and shall not appear in their time, and the rain shall be kept back, and the heavens shall withhold. And in those days the fruits of the earth shall be backward, and shall not grow in their time, and the fruits of the trees shall be withheld in their time, and the moon shall alter her order, and not appear at her time. And in those days the sun shall be seen, and he shall journey in the evening on the extremity of the great chariot in the west, and shine more brightly than accords with the order of light. So even when we read all that stuff again, and just to give to ourselves the understanding that nothing's going to be the same, nothing stays, nothing will be as it was today like it was back then. So the fact that harvests are messed up, the fact that the rain, that a lot of places are going through droughts right now, believe it or not, it's incredible. All throughout the U.S., places that are historically very rainy are getting no rain. Places that are historically not very humid are getting a crap ton of it. It's messing up the ecosystem everywhere. I can't stress this stuff enough, y'all. There's a legitimate feeling that I have when I do these sessions that I get. Like, I know for a fact that one of these days, even if it's at the very end, the stuff that I'm saying right now, the things that I've been saying are going to be like, they're going to come true on so many different levels. And all I'm going to be able to do is just stand back and be in awe and be in complete and utter awe. I won't even have time to tell people I told you so. I won't even care to tell them I told you so. I think it'll hurt me more to tell them I told you so than anything else. I want to see people make it. I don't want to see people die. Yeah, man. All that shit is crazy, dog. Tornadoes, massive flooding in the Midwest. This shit is crazy, dude. And you got to watch out down there in Texas too, man. They've been talking about shit. If y'all don't get unlucky again, you know what I mean? Weather's been real dicey down where you at. Not exactly as far south as you, but still in your state. But yeah, man, this shit is crazy. But nothing will be as it was now. And as long as we, one second. Yeah, see, it's funny that they do that because I think a lot of this stuff has to do with the weather machine. You know what I mean? Just because he didn't say that they weren't going to mess with the weather, or just because he didn't say that they did, doesn't mean that they haven't. Doesn't mean that that's not what it is. The days could very well be shortened because men have done something that have shortened the days and have messed everything up. Their device that they're imagining, that vain thing that the heathen has worked up in his mind, okay, has changing the weather does not make the Most High a liar. Making it to where the sun doesn't rise makes the Most High a liar. Right. Been several drought here for over 2 years now. All reservoirs are filled. See, but sister, they're trying to save. They're trying to redirect efforts. Oh, there's gonna be floods. There's gonna be floods. But that's the problem, though, is they tried to channel an effort to help save certain parts of California because they understood that the state was in dire need of hydration. Now, mind you, up here in Washington, we're in drought watch now, right? It's been almost 20 years since Washington has been in drought watch. The last time we was in drought watch, President George W. Bush was in office, okay? And he did the drought watch. He's the one who actually declared the drought emergency in the state. It wasn't the governor, right? And it's because the salmon and all that stuff, they had to make sure that they were going to have enough water to be able to respond to return to the spawn grounds and all that stuff. Anywho, sister, they have been for the longest of time. I mean, the longest of time playing with this weather or trying to influence it. And now that they have to a level so grand, a level so epic, that I don't think they can go back. I don't think that they can fix what they've done without ruining it ever more. And they're terrified at this point. My boy Brandon, we were talking, and he was talking about how those guys at CERN stop messing around and stop. I'm like, says who? You know what I mean? Says who? Just because they told you they stopped trying to do it doesn't mean that they stopped trying to do it. And I don't mean there's one there's one fringe whatever. You know what I mean? Nah. people have a hard time believing that evil is a group effort. They really do. They really do. And they have a hard time believing that it takes a lot more evil to outdo the good. It takes way more evil. Why do you think most of the world is dying when the Most High comes back? Right, because most of the world is evil. If it wasn't, most of the world wouldn't be getting killed. It would be, if it was different, it would be written differently, but it's not different. So the way that it's written tells me that the environment is what the scripture says it is. Messed up beyond all recognition. It is FUBAR. It is FUBAR. The problem that I have with everything, more so than I have with what's what I'm looking for. The world, I guess my real issue is not just people being lying, it's not just people lying and being wrong. I guess it's like it's easy to misguide folks like that, you know. And I'm gonna touch on the fires coming and fall here in a second, so just give me one moment. But let me ask you guys a question. What stops somebody from being evil and wicked? Like what? Like what? Tell me what would stop white people all of a sudden from just being evil and wicked? They've been being like that since the world has known about them. So for a person to try to tell me or try to reason to me or to reckon to me that I just got it all wrong, bro, you're just being way too hard on them. How? How? It's not like they don't mess with the weather. In every country, they've got their own version of HAARP. Right? Every major industrialized country has their own version of HAARP. Every single one of them. All these places are playing with the weather. Those who are able to conjure and to better appease the spirits that they conjure, i.e., the same chiefs of the stars who changed their orbits and changed the times in which they would appear. Can you dig it? Right. Those ones who have control or influence over certain winds, right? Or have the ability to open maybe a particular window of the heavens. See, this is what people have to understand and have to come into their mind with. They're conjuring angels, demons, devils, whatever you want to say. They're conjuring those things when they use those devices. When they use those devices, they're seeking to learn what they need to bring to those entities to appease and please them. Once they've been appeased and pleased, then whatever the request is, be it that the appeasing fits and covers what the request is, shall be granted. So if you wanted an earthquake, dealing with any one of the angels that might deal with the pillars of the earth, or might have influence to influence an angel that deals with the pillars of the earth. So they conjure this one. And in order to get the other one to do what they want it to do, they have to do these other, what we call sacrifices. You understand? They have to give something up to it as well. So this is why sometimes these things don't manifest overnight. And this is why sometimes it takes forever to happen and to actually build up and to come into being. Is because it's like a 2 or 3 part sacrifice. It's not just a one and done. It's no, we do this part now, then we wait 5 years or 6 years for this in particular alignment of stars or supposedly this star that's coming. There's an energy, a frequency level that they're waiting to be amassed. Once that is properly amassed, then the next piece kicks in. And then if that thing is asking to be appeased or for whatever sacrifice, they give that to it. The greatest point I could make is World War II. Oh, yeah, man, look, when the day of whatever comes, just pray. Just pray you're somewhere you can do something about it. That's it. That's it. Pray the bullets run out early and just pray that you are the one in the family. I mean, the two. You are the one from the city. You are one of the two from the family. That's all you can pray. You can only pray that you're going to make it. See, this is why people don't like to listen to my message, because I'm not telling men and women to go and get divorced and to live, crazy lives. But if the Most High God has already made clear that a man's foes are those of his own household, it doesn't make sense for a man to go and get into a conventional relationship. He should be in an unconventional relationship where maybe he and the lady that he's seeing, right, even if they have children together, maybe they shouldn't live in the same house. Maybe they should work that out. Right. Maybe a man shouldn't try to push his son so hard to be a good person, and allow his child, raise the child up the right way, right on. You raise him up the right way because the child will come back, as opposed to trying to pressure the child to be a good person. You know, there's a lot going on. Hmm. That's what the wars are for, sister. Um, Not sure if you remember, made it a long, long time ago. It was called End Times. And in the End Times video, it was a book. I mean, it's not a book. It was an audio book. It's a video, whatever you want to say, about World War II and World War One. But it was trying to illustrate that both of those wars produced, every conflict produces technological advances. And I was trying to show the correlation between technology and war, and how there was a level of sacrifice that was achieved to gain these so-called technological advances. World War One, from the X-ray to the handkerchief, to World War II, from color TV to the atomic bomb. Um, and then when you talk about all the things that from the Korean War, and all the inventions that were pretty much implemented during those days. So-called, once again, if I had to say that Roswell was real, then I would have to say that one of the ministering creatures of heaven crash landed on Earth and gave to this planet technology it was never supposed to have. I'm not sure if you guys know this. The M16 wasn't developed until after the Roswell sighting, the Roswell crash. Why this is importante, very important, is because it's believed that the gas system that's used quite commonly now is alien technology. There's a lot of belief to that the gas system that they use now is alien technology, and it's not normal, and it's foreign, all the way foreign. That's neither here nor there. Um, just making it known to you guys that sacrifice. I've 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 never let it go. I think I'm one of the few guys who brings up the Holocaust and jabs at the Holocaust and says the word Holocaust literally, when it's by definition, means burnt offering. And there were far more people who were burnt up in Japan and Germany and all throughout the theater of Europe than there were so-called Jews that were burnt up during that same time. Facts. 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 Anyhow, we're going to get back to the original point before I close this all out, because this is where it's going to go. I'm not going to read anything else from the book of Enoch. I'm going to let that die. But I'm just going to chop it up with y'all for a few minutes and then I'm out. So our mission is now to figure out the actual summer solstice, to be looking for the longest days of the year and the shortest nights. Our goal now is to get as close as we can to the proper day of the year and to go forward from there. With that goal in mind, it'll give us the ability, the foresight, the insight to what it is that we may be missing or not missing. Maybe it'll tell us everything that we've been doing right. With that also said, it gives us something to work for. We will never know the secrets of the Most High God, but He has said, the secret things are for the Lord our God. Right on. But those revealed to us, like that, can you dig it? But those secrets revealed are for us and our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. So He hasn't revealed to us, He hasn't shown to us through proper teaching that the days that we are living in are not the actual days to be accounted for properly. Men have gone so wrong in their accounting for the days thereof that the months are wrong. Did you hear me? The months are wrong. So if I know if the months are wrong, that means the days in the months leading to the months are wrong. Therefore, no one can ever know when one season ends or truly begins, because they're not counting the months the proper way they're supposed to be counted. Right. Furthermore, with that said, because the moon does not have months that have 30, because the moon has days that have, the moon has months that has 29 days. Right on. And obviously one that's 28, or you can claim the sun has a 28 day month. However, the point is this right here, is that the moon itself is an instrument that is supposed to help you properly keep the time, as far as from one month to the next month. So if you didn't watch the sun, if you slept all day or whatever, or if you come from Middle Earth, I don't know, the easiest way to have known the cycle of everything is that there has been one full moon cycle, and the next moon cycle, right on, is the next time through. But this obviously throws everything off. And then when you get to the winter solstice, where the nights are longer and the days are shorter, what about then for the moon watchers? Do they still account for everything the same? Are they paying attention that the moon is up for longer? Things like that matter. They do matter. It actually does matter if they can account that the days are shorter and the nights are longer. It means everything. The 4 intercalary days, the heads of the thousands who were over them, of the day, of the 360 days, who were all at their own stations. Those who are ahead of the months, right on, the leader of weeks, all these, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of angels in the heavens. There are too many of them, way too many of them. But they all serve a purpose and a function. There is no pantheon. there is not a single pantheon that even gets close to the level of greatness that is explained through the pantheon of the Israelite people to their God. He is the greatest of all deity figures mentioned. There is none greater than him. He is the only God. His Messiah, his Christ, is more powerful than any of the gods that the people worship or the fallen ones that the people worship. The seven high holy angels are more powerful than probably just about every single one of those same fallen ones mentioned. They were able to bind Azazel hand and foot and cast him into the abyss, and all the other angels with them, where they wait to the day of great judgment. When you have host of heaven, regular other angels who come down, who are just part of the story that you read in the so-called history book of the Israelite people, which is known as the Holy Bible. Um, this is just the greatness of the level of worship from this faith to all the other faiths. It is incomparable. There is no comparison at all. Head and shoulders above any so-called competition, and just head and shoulders above everyone as far as the understandability, the the sensibility of what we're reading. The Bible is the only creation story that logically makes sense, where it actually explains some of the functions. The Bible shows you that the Most High goes through progression of thought. I can't stress this enough. When the earth was first made, light and darkness were not dictated by the sun and the moon. The Most High God made a greater light for regulating the day and a lesser light to regulate the night. Because apparently he didn't like that it was pitch black, dark at nighttime. So he said, you know what, I got something to fix that. When we read about the greatness of our God, his magnificence, his holiness, his righteousness, his godliness, we have to keep in mind that this is the deity who on the world stage was never worshipped. Never was he worshipped. And even in the book of Enoch, it's not made clear that before the flood, people were into deity worship. It is made clear that people would worship the fallen one's children and the fallen one and the host of heaven. It's made clear that people will do this, but it doesn't say that that was done because the Most High's God's beef, if you will, with human beings was not that they were worshiping gods. It was that that their hearts were intently brooding over evil continually. Every man had evil in his heart and wicked intentions. That was the beef that the Most High God had. So for a person to try and assume or to try and insinuate anything other is childish and foolish. With that said, the Most High did not give you a brain that works. He did not give you a tongue to speak with. He did not bless you with life today so that way you could squander it. He didn't. Being vain or foolish. And that goes for me too. He didn't give me the breath of life. He didn't give me the gift of soul constitution so that way I could go and squander and lose my soul. It's not what this is for. The gift that we've been giving is one so that way we can testify. Can you dig it? We can give testimony to what he has done for us. A man who can say the Most High has done nothing for me lately. If that man is still breathing, the Most High has done everything for you that you cannot do for yourself. Heard a man say, once again, he's a blasphemous bastard. But he can't help himself because he doesn't know any better. And he was pretty much trying to say that people aren't blessed because they get things for free. Well, if you understand throughout the entire scripture, the best blessings that the Most High God gives to people are things that they don't have to work for. What did King Solomon actually do for the kingdom? What wars did he wage? Huh? Who did he kill to be put on the throne? No one. He was born into that situation. And the only reason why Solomon was born into that situation was because his elder brother, Absalom, killed off all the competition to the throne before him. Come on. Come on. Let's just tell the truth and shame the devil. But that once again, King David, who has been forgiven by the Most High God, I want to forgive him, but I just can't let it go. A lot of where we're at, you could look, minus every other character after King David, minus all of them. If King David lived in righteousness to the we wouldn't be going through this. We wouldn't be going through this right now. We wouldn't, and people can't even understand that. You know, we're living this life. A lot of people don't want to hear it. A lot of what King David did. Jeroboam never takes the throne if King David plays his hand differently. Right. It all goes back to David. The actual fall of Israel is on David's shoulders. It's in his hands. People don't like to hear that. They don't want to hear that. They're like, oh, that's Jeroboam made his own decisions. King Solomon made his own decisions. King Solomon is the son of who? David. If David hadn't been sleeping with another man's woman, King Solomon wouldn't have been in a position to put the son of a harlot, Jeroboam, in the assembly of the Lord, which was mandated against. I can honestly say the only reason why I'm having to do what I'm doing right now is because King David dropped the ball. Yet, his sins were blotted out, covered up, and forgiven. And he's going to be made the prince over all the people. How is that? Once again, what did David do right for that reward? Tell me. Can anybody tell me what he did right for that reward? Other than be pleasing to the Most High and the Most High's eyes. That's it. But as far as the living condition, our situation was not made better by David and what he did at all by any stretch of the imagination. None whatsoever. The people were falling off to the left and to the right before King David. So to blame King David for them falling off is a stretch. But to say that his actions and the deceitfulness of his own heart, his unrighteousness, placed an entire nation of people 1,000 years later were stuck and fucked in Babylon because of one dude. Because one man's son let in the son of a woman who should have never been in the congregation to begin with. Right. That's the problem. That's the beef. So I could talk about summer solstice, winter solstice, and all that shit all I want. At the end of the day, I still have to address everything else. We're only here in this position because other people put us here. Excuse me. I ain't never sacrificed nothing under the shady oak under the shady tree, under the shade of an oak tree, or the poplar, or none of that. I've never done that ever in my life, and won't. But in the days of David, this shit was going down. Thank you, bro. But the reason why I get so upset is this. Why do people not want to see the truth? They have a hard time accepting what it is basic. You, my brothers and sisters, I believe in all my heart, and I believe in all my heart and soul. When we get whatever is coming to us, it will be bought and paid for with our actions. True. Trust and believe that. It will be bought and paid for with our actions. I guess the killing of Raphaim and the majority of the rest of the giant nations makes a man fawning after the wife of another man forgivable. I once again, this is why the Most High God says, "My ways are not your ways, my thoughts are not your thoughts." Because as a man, I can't reckon that. I can't. I can't reckon it. Most people, once again, most people can reckon it. There's just King David is King David, and he's a good guy, and that's it. And there's nothing else to it. But if you hold accountable the right people, just like in the book of Enoch, the women that first slept with the angels, all those women are going to be turned into sirens. They don't get a blessing for doing that. Right on? They don't get they don't get put on because they exposed the weakness within the ranks of the heavens, because that was a weakness. No, they're getting turned into sirens forever. Right. So even if they're dead now, they're going to get turned into sirens. That's their blessing, if you call that a blessing, for sleeping with the angels. But you're telling me, once again, this is why I know for a fact the Most High has to do what he has to do. Because if I'm looking at it the way I'm looking at it, BS. BS. Bull. None of those guys were born with iPads and tablets and things like that of the nature to corrupt their minds. And people can be like, there was wizards and warlocks, and there was a real family back then. So it's for every dynamic that you try to introduce, I can take something away from that. Sirens are pretty much a creature that lives in the water and they seduce men. They're demons. They're demons. They're nothing more. A siren is pretty much a water succubus. That's the best way to explain a siren. Is a succubus of the water. You know what I mean? For real, for real. A succubus of the water. That's the best way to explain a siren. That's what a siren is. She's a demonic foe that lives in the water, that seduces men so she can kill them. Now, once again, why they're being turned into sirens? I have no idea. Once again, goes back to the Most High's ways are truly not our ways, nor are his thoughts our thoughts. It makes me so upset. You have no idea. It makes me so upset. We have lost we've lost good people. You know how many people have lost their souls because of monumental decisions that were made thousands of years before them? Oh, I want you to think about all these homosexual black boys you see running around. You think every single one of them was wicked from the womb? Or were some of those men corrupted by the society, by the environment? Huh? And the people that corrupted them can ask for forgiveness and be forgiven. Amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. And all I can think of is the Messiah saying that that's why he doesn't want them to ever make their bones. He doesn't want them to repent. You know what I'm saying? Because he doesn't want their sins to be forgiven of them. But this is the problem of the world we live in. That's the issue. And through the Most High's righteousness, he has to forgive them if they're truly repentant and they turn from their evil ways. And people will say, well, why shouldn't they be forgiven? Shouldn't that be part of the majesty and the magic and the miracles? And I'm like, no, they should go to fucking hell and burn forever. Those every person who I think could have stood a chance, maybe might have stood a chance, right? If they were just born anywhere but here, anywhere but America, they might have fucking stood a chance, right? But no, they were born here. So they stood not an iota, not a snowball's chance in hell. And now their souls have to be condemned forever because of that. Crazy. It is, when I say it's crazy, it's madness. The Most High knows these are my gripes. Okay, they don't have to be your gripes. These are my gripes. These are things that I complain to the Most High about. These are things that I ask him about. How he's going to rectify those things. He doesn't owe me an answer, but I ask vehemently all the time. What is he going to do to rectify those things? How can they be rectified if you'll forgive those that are wicked because they turn from their evil ways? Are they, once again, how? People are like, this is why they don't believe in anything. It's things like that that push people from the faith because they can't understand that the Most High God's righteousness is not our righteousness. And that's one of the things that I'm hard pill to swallow, even harder to accept. But I'm getting to a stage in my life where I can at least accept it. But for a long time, when I came back into reading the Bible, that was one of my beefs that I had. Not per se with the Most High, but just with the whole happening of everything. I just had it bothers me still deeply. The Most High God knows my heart. And when I say He knows that bothers me, it bothers me. Once again, people who should have had a chance never had a chance, never ever stood a chance, and now they're going to hell, or worse, to get sent into the sun and burnt up. Right. So whenever you guys see me get a certain type of way, please understand that I am thinking about, when I say everything I have ever read, everything I know goes into every little thing that I do, everything, everything that pertains to it. That's how I operate. And I sometimes just get upset. I sometimes find myself more upset than maybe I should be, but I get upset about it. If you guys don't get upset about the situation, I can understand that. I can understand how it might not jump out to everybody else the way that it jumps out to me. But it just seems so amazing that these people could ask for forgiveness and actually be granted Forgiveness. What? After all they've done? Now, I don't know a person's heart. Only the Most High can try your heart. Only his Messiah can try your heart. But just because they meant it in the heart, and in the, what about the damage done? Huh? What about that? What about them? What about my ancestors who slit their throat in the morning, dropped rocks on their head, drowned themselves? Huh? Bit off their tongues, gouged their eyes out, anything to end it. Who were sent here because people like King David failed to act. And King David is rewarded with being able to be the prince. Still in the midst of the people, but still nonetheless the prince among the people. And there's people who will never have ever had a chance to know who the Most High God is. Ask for forgiveness, nothing. They lived their life, they sinned, they fucked up, they're toast. People think I just got a chip on my shoulder or I'm just talking out the side of my neck. No, I'm right about this one. There's nothing. This is why, for me, sis, I'm with you. Sis, I'm with you. Ask the Most High. Ask the Most High, because I don't know. I don't know. It had not even a glimpse of understanding in that realm has been given to me. Not even a little bit. I have no idea. And it makes me sad. And it makes me just like direly upset because there's how do you account for that? Huh? How do you account for that? The dead can make. This is why I pray for our ancestors all the time. I pray that those that were repentant be forgiven. All the time. All the time. All the time. I pray for mercy for them all the time. Because there were many of our ancestors who never had the type of relationship that any of us had with the Most High God. Not even close. They weren't seeking His face. They weren't doing nothing. They were just trying to live and survive. Because the environment was so rough. And you got other people who they grew up in kingdoms, knew of His greatness, knew His greatness. And now we're thousands of years in this place. We're fucked off. Some people do okay in this godforsaken country. A lot of people don't. And motherfuckers don't even have the audacity, don't even have a little bit of, you know what? That's not right in them. You know, Moses told the Most High to repent before? Repent of the evil that he spoke on the people. And if it wasn't the Most High, he told the Messiah to repent. But I'm going to assume it was the Most High. And guess what the Most High did concerning his evil? He repented. Meaning that the Most High God himself can change his mind. because he understood. In that moment, I haven't given my servant faith and confidence in me. If anything, I've done the opposite. So to make him feel better, I will repent of the evil that I've spoken on these people. But he let Moses know, you gotta have to fall back out of the way, bro, because if they do stuff that I don't like, I'm gonna kill them, and I don't want to kill you killing them. So fall back out the way. Matter of fact, I'm not even gonna get into you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even gonna get. I'm gonna lead you, but from a distance, because I mess around and tear you up, tearing them up. You see what I'm saying? So he said, "No, right. I'm gonna go ahead and this is a being that, if he wanted to, he could bring you back to life after killing you. So why not just do that? Why not just ride with Moses until he has to kill everybody and then bring Moses back? There's obviously reasons for all these things. Remember, on this part, he told Moses, I'll kill everybody. I'll kill everybody, and I'll make a whole nation out of you. Brand new nation out of you. Moses said no, because then the people will say that the Most High God, the God of the Hebrews, brought his people out to the wilderness just to kill them. Not restart anything. There's nothing to restart, because Moses comes from who? Ultimately, Abraham. So he's not restarting anything. It would have been to establish another bloodline, just from the bloodline of Levi. You follow what I'm getting at? That would have been the idea. Do I get sad at Moses for not? I get a little sad, but I could understand. Moses was in a way different. Like, you got to understand, Moses didn't do what King David did. Joshua didn't do what King David did. The judges didn't do what King David did. King Saul didn't even do what King David did. King Saul disobeyed the Most High, which I guess you want to say, if that's worse to you, David slept with somebody's wife, dog. That's an offense that's worthy of death. Do you know what David did when he did that? He effectively brought the sword onto his house until this day. Until the great day of judgment be consummated, guess what? The sword is not going to leave the house of David. When you account for the sword not leaving the house of David, and then when you go Manasseh and Ephraim and Manasseh, right on, are both working against Judah, right? And for this, his hand is still his hand is outstretched still, meaning the wrath of the Most High God, right? Because Manasseh and Ephraim are both working against you, Judah. But you wouldn't, once again, you'd have to read the scripture to know that. So to understand that the black on black crime that you do see from people who do look like they're from the tribes, more than likely, it's not Jehudite on Jehudite, but it's an Ephrathite and whatever the children of Manasseh are called on Yehudite crime. And then the other stuff is like Middle Earth bastards on Yehudite, and then sometimes it's Hamite on Yehudite. And I can't dictate if the Hamite is an Egyptian, if they're Canaanite, if they're a Jebusite, an Evite, an Ardukite, because all those names got changed over the last few hundred years. So names that they may have been known as before, they're no longer known as now. Can't stress to y'all enough, if you think they only brought Israelites to America, you're smoking some good dope. You're smoking the best dope. Because when I recall reading Deuteronomy, and the Most High God is blessing the people, and before he tells them of the curses of Deuteronomy 28, he has his captains, right on, his chiefs and his elders gather all the people, right? From the hewer of wood to the drawer of water. So listen, not only are the children of Israel, but from the hewer of wood to the drawer of water, the Deuteronomy 28 curses applied to. So if you think that the people who sojourned were strangers, can you dig it? Amongst the Israelites who got their asses beat out of Judea down into what we now call Africa. If you think none of those Hamites followed those Israelites into Africa, you're smoking some good dope. Those people were on the boats with our people, looking just like us. The white man couldn't if they don't know the difference between a bald-faced Negro and a full bearded Negro, there's no way they knew the difference back then anymore. I don't give a damn about all the pictures they show us where they say, oh, white people knew that they were looking for Hebrews. Okay, that doesn't mean that every person they got was a Hebrew. Right. How could the stranger within us get larger than us if there's no stranger within you? Right, nigga? See, once again, I can't even break down this shit to people because poop butt elementary motherfuckers can't even keep up. They can't, like literally, they just can't keep up. You know, this is a thinking man's game, thinking woman's game. This is a thinking person's atmosphere. And for a person who cannot think, they cannot acclimate. Therefore, they can't keep up. And that's my point. They read one little thing and they think they got the scripture figured out. I read one little thing and my understanding falls to pieces. I know it goes back to the triplets, bro, but that's neither here nor there, because for people to believe anything that I'm saying, right? To even believe that, they'd have to believe a part of what I'm saying, though, bro. They would have to believe that there weren't just Israelites brought here. You get what I'm saying? They would have to, before Meech ever was like, yo, Noah's sons are triplets. Before I even said stuff like, I was saying the same shit I'm saying now. It doesn't change though, bro. It doesn't make people believe. You follow what I'm saying? Till I'm blue in the face, what you pointed out, that Abraham himself was a triplet. I could point that shit out till I'm blue in the face and point out how the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Syrians, and the Assyrians, and the Ishmaelites, okay, and the Edomites all look alike. They all look the fucking same. Teemanites, all of them, they all look the same. So the fact that I can't even discuss that Abraham's a triplet, which gives more rise to the fact that the children of Israel, when they mixed with the Moabites and the Ammonites, couldn't tell the people apart. Once again. But for people to believe that, bro, they have to believe history. You feel me, Andre? And I know that they might believe history, but they don't believe me. So it negates the triplet factor, because the triplets is only important when people believe in genetics. That's the only time it's important. That's the only time I can actually use it. But every time I decide to use it, there's always a person who says, well, what if Noah had more than one wife? And how do you know that the Bible is not withholding the information that he had more than one wife? And it's like, see, when people say shit like that, the fact that when the flood is over, Noah gets off the ark with his wife, not wives, is dictate to that. So we could skip everything before that fashion and just get to the last time you hear about Noah's wife, which is the last time you hear about her when they get off the ark. Last time you hear about her. With that said, I can't make a person believe me through my understanding of history. I can't force somebody to accept what clearly looks like it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing, though. It's written, Martin, that the whole world used to look the same. Genesis chapter 11, verse 6. And all the earth was one lip. No, excuse me. And all the earth was one race. And there was one lip of all. Right on? And then it goes on to explain it how how they have begun to do this. Now nothing from them, now nothing they have undertaken, they shall fail to do, or something like that. I forget exactly how it's worded, but it's pretty much just saying when it acknowledges that the whole earth is one race and they all speak one language. This is during the Tower of Confusion, the Tower of Babel. Now, the Book of Dreams, man, we're gonna. And then I'm about to be done talking about this. I'm about to be done for the day. The Book of Dreams is gonna be so freaking epic. I'm gonna do a review on the astrology, if not tomorrow, the day after. I'm gonna do my 2019 weekly update this Friday, the latest Saturday. I said all that to say this: the Book of Dreams. I don't know, y'all. The Book of Dreams, oh my goodness, could be the most epic thing I've ever read. Epic. Look, everybody says that they took the Book of Enoch out of the Bible to not show that that the angels were white. Bullshit. They took the Book of Enoch out of the Bible because of the Book of Dreams. That's right. I said it. I said it. The last book in the Book of Enoch is why the Book of Enoch is not in the Bible. Not because it says that Noah resembled a white man. Nope, not even close. Not even close is why they kept this book out. In the Book of the Dreams, I now understand what I'm reading. The very first part had me confused. I will tell you this: the black heifer is reminiscent of not only the first creation woman, but also of Eve. With that said, when I read it, I'm not sure I'm going to do a breakdown of it. Because I'm not sure I want people to try to get ahead of themselves. Because there's a character that I know has to manifest now, that I have never seen manifest in this life, who shall manifest in this life. And when y'all just don't know, it's coming. The Book of the Dreams is the book that tells us what to look for, ultimately, because it gets to a point where we're in bondage. It gets to a point to where we understand at what point and junction in our bondage, not an exact one, but an approximate one, what to look for in our bondage as to when our bondage shall be up at its end. Okay? There are things in this book that they don't want you to see at the very last ass end of it. Now, if I tell you that the book has said just like this, like white men, guess what that means? That the people on the earth were not white. And that like white men spot comes up twice in the Book of Dreams so far, what I've seen, maybe even the third time, because I ain't finished yet. Why this is so ethically important? It gives understanding, further understanding, better understanding, almost complete understanding that those that fell from the heavens, those that come from the heaven, have a certain visage when here on certain missions. One could argue, one could contend, say that the angels that we have sometimes seen to be depicted as black may not have been as black as we think or thought they were. Some may have been, some may not have been. It mitigates and negates the understanding. Really, it does. It muddies the water. So much so that, once again, I'm back almost to my square one where I was years ago when I first started reading the scripture again. And I love that feeling. I haven't been this hungry to learn for a long time because I had got to a point into a level where the information kind of plateaued, you know. And I can read the scripture and find different things from things that I've read before, but there's a drive and an intensity that you have to have because that same drive will tell you when you're tired and when you've had too much and when you can't take anymore. And when you don't have that drive, sometimes you do too much. You follow what I'm saying? Sometimes you do exactly what Solomon told you not to do, which is to make much out of many books and the studying thereof. Right on? Because much study is weariness of the flesh. It'll wear you out. So I'm no longer worn out because I'm no longer just I'm not trying to force myself to see something. I'm not trying I'm not putting any more of an unnecessary burden on myself at this point to understand what it is that I'm understanding. For a long time, a long time, uh, I felt really insecure with what I understood, you know. Um, but the more that I come into how much I do understand, as little as it is, I'm realizing that my little understanding is far greater than the non-understanding that most people have, because most people don't understand at all. And I'm becoming more grateful to what I understand. Uh, Knowledge, real knowledge. I have an insatiable appetite to know. When I say to know is that's my shit. That's my shit, y'all. To know something. That's my shit. That is head and shoulders above all the other stuff, above everything else. To know. Because that's true in its finest form. And the only form that it matters in its honest form. That's the only time the truth and honesty go together. They are not the same, but they are one and the same. Because truth and honesty are in many ways smaller vessels of absoluteness. Let me repeat myself. Truth and honesty are smaller vessels of absoluteness. And with that said, y'all, I'm coming up on my last minute. Just about done. I love dropping a little piece right there at the end. I love that. But I say all that stuff to say this to y'all. The Most High God has given all of us understanding. I have learned from everyone who is here right now. I have learned. You couldn't ask me how much I've learned from you because it's all situational. I may have learned a different way of handling things, a different demeanor. I've gotten so much better, I think, since I first started doing these things until now. Uh, I think the progress will continue to show. The elevation of my understanding will continue to rise. We will all continue to grow together. So therefore, we all understand. Now, once again, I know y'all, I say this to y'all all the time. Small unit cohesion. Our small unit cohesion is going to be the reason why we win. That's going to be the reason why we win in the end. Okay? It's not going to be because uh, uh, somebody lives in a nice house, or somebody lives in an apartment, or somebody makes a lot of money, or somebody makes a little bit of money. No, it'll be because we are all on one accord. And everyone here really just wants to see the Most High, or just be in that general assembly of those saints when they get to see the Most High. I know that's what we all want. That's what we all desire. I know in the midst of that, we desire righteousness to prevail and reign true. With that said, and put forth, brothers and sisters, all we can do is what we can do. That is the power that we have. The power that I have is the power over Demetrius Antoine Jones, and to continue to attempt to make the best decisions that I can make while I yet live. The Most High God is working in my life, giving me more confidence than I've ever had, ever. It doesn't seem like it, this is the most confident I've ever been in my whole life, ever, at any point in time. I've never been more confident in my abilities, uh, in my faith, just in the Most High, just period. I've never been more confident, you know. Uh, and 5 years ago, once again, just last year this time, I wasn't nearly as confident as I am now. Things have changed in just these last 5 or 6 months where I believe more and more and more and more and more on the Most High God. From you guys just praying for me, praying to me. Here I go, praying for me to make it in the courts, and court has. It's gone my way for the most part. It just hasn't. What I wanted, what I desired, hasn't happened, but it has gone my way. And you guys are a major, major monumental part of that. Not only do you motivate me to make sure I stay out of trouble and I'm able to do these little addresses, but the positive affirmations that you continue to put out to the universe reverberate into my life every day. I tell you guys all the time, there is no higher affirmation than a prayer. There is no greater affirmation than a prayer, positive or negative. So when you pray for me, you are literally speaking success into my life. And success for Demetrius Antoine Jones is to have gone to sleep one day and to have woke up the next in his right mind. So when I wake up feeling like I was the same guy I was yesterday, that's a blessing to wake up in your right mind, to wake up knowing that you're still you. And I pray for all of you all the same that you continue to be the great people that you are, courageous and honorable, respectable people, righteous people. I really do love you guys to death. There's a lot of these cats out here who might say that shit, but I mean it. When I say I love y'all to death, I love y'all to death, man. And I don't want nothing bad to happen to nobody. I'm praying for you, Martin. Hoping everything in your internals is feeling better. If you haven't tried the Greek yogurt diet yet, you still need to get around to doing it. Um, Steve, stay strong down there. Don't let shit get the best of you. You know what I'm saying? And just be good, big dog. Don't let this shit bother you, man. Because it's gonna be what it is. Andre and Martin, y'all down there in Texas, and y'all be safe. Beyond the weather, the people are becoming ever more unpredictable. I can't stress personal safety enough. Can't stress personal protection. You must be able to do. You fight fire with fire every once in a while, but that's what they say. But I fight fire with water, so I can put that ass out, right? So we're looking for the exact countermeasure to whatever it is the issue. But in order to have the countermeasure, we must be prepared and ready for what could take place if it happens. Brothers and sisters, nothing but love for y'all. I promise nothing but love. I salute you. I hope that today is a great day. And I pray that tomorrow is better than today. That said, I'm out. This is the end of our Enoch summer and winter solstice.